then why do we think justification had anything to do with our works?
Yeah.
Do you see how he pulls the bait and switch,
Yes.
the serpent?
Yeah.
Everything, he's got one thing. I'm going to get them focused on their works.
Yeah.
I'm going to get them focused on their flesh. And so he gets everything wrapped up in that. Jesus had to die on the cross because of our bad behavior. God had to punish Jesus. See how all of our thoughts about the cross are centered around our works? He does that with everything.
Our failure.
Right.
Yeah.
So justification, if we couldn't be justified through our flesh, then we're not trying to be justified from our works.
Yeah.
It's just that our works could never justify us
Yeah.
to begin with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now we start seeing justification is about being declared innocent of an accusation.
Yeah.
Right? Innocent.
Innocent.
Innocent. Listen, that's a big difference between what I used to think about justified, which was that I was guilty, and then now I'm not guilty anymore.
Yeah. Right. You were declared by God. God
Right.
declared it. Boom. Yourself.
Right. Like
Yeah.
God did something so he could see me as if I'd never done wrong.
Gave you a
Exactly.
reprieve.
And then we have the horrible teaching of God doesn't see you, he sees you through the Jesus filter.
That's right.
So don't worry, brother. When you're disgusted with yourself, and he would be too, but he's got Jesus goggles. So he doesn't see you, he sees Jesus. Listen now, he sees you, and he sees you with the same glory that we saw in Jesus in the resurrection. And so that's how he sees you.
Amen.
He don't need some goggles so he can look at you and find himself liking you.
Yeah.
He believed you were filled with glory. He believed that who you are is glorious. And he manifested what he saw in his heart when he thought of you in the resurrection of Jesus.
Amen.
Right?
Yeah.
This is the glory I ascribe to man. To mankind. This is the glory I ascribe to mankind. I have a view and opinion. The word glory, one of the meanings is view and opinion.
Right.
I have a view and opinion of man. In the beginning, when I made man, I got down on one knee and I gave my view and opinion of man. I gave my view and opinion of man. Listen, I never lied.
Right.
And I'm not a liar.
Right.
My view and opinion of man hasn't changed even though they've become enslaved to sin and death. And so Satan came and said, Satan came with his view and opinion of man. Satan had this view and opinion of man before man fell because he hated man because he thought he should be at the right hand of God.
Right.
And he looked at man, who he considered man to be a subservient being to him. So I'm going to be a ministering servant to them.
Mm-hmm.
I was made first. I'm the most beautiful angel that ever was. They aren't as beautiful as me.
Right.
And so his view and opinion of man never lined up with God's. And from the beginning, he sought to create man in the image he had in his heart of man.
Yes.
And so he comes and accuses man. He lies to man. That was the hard part at the beginning. That's why he didn't go to Adam, he goes to Eve. Because they weren't clothed in sin and death yet. But once he could get Adam to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and insert death into the world, and now Adam and Eve were clothed in death, do you know how much easier it became for him to accuse man?
Yes.
Because the natural reaction is, I mean, if somebody came to me and said, listen man, Larry's not your father. I know you thought he was, but he's not. And he's not going to take care of you because you're not really from him. Your mom, she had an affair with some guy, and you're this guy's offspring. Larry's not your father. You know, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start looking at pictures of myself and Larry.
Right.
I'm going to start saying, well, do I even look like Larry? Right? That's the first thing I'm going to do. Do I look like Larry? Listen, if I don't think I look like Larry, that's going to become a big problem in my heart. This accusation that says Larry's not my father is going to have a little more weight. Okay? So once Adam and Eve became clothed in death, the accusation could stick a lot easier. Because they saw God. God was light and life.
Right.
In him was no darkness.
Right.
Then after they ate from the tree, they saw themselves clothed in death. Who shall save me from this body of death, Paul said. That's what Adam had. A body of death. He was clothed in all sin and death and darkness. And so he looked at himself, and he remembered what he saw in God, and he thought, yeah, man, he don't look like my father. And so the accusation carried much more weight.
Sure.
In fact, the accusation became so profound in the hearts of men that even men who claimed Christianity continued to preach justification as if the accusation was true.
Yes.
We built our whole gospel around the idea that the accusation was true.
Yes. Yes.
That it actually is true that we're not the children of God.
Right.
And now God had to do something to make that different. And we built it around that. Man, the accusation was a lie. The accusation was never true. That's how we can be declared innocent. Yes, we were guilty of eating from the tree. Yes, we earned the wages of death. But that wasn't the accusation.
Right.
That was the evidence used to try to prove the accusation. And so part of what God did in justifying us is he had to redeem us from sin and death. Because if we be his children, one of the things the serpent would say in the courtroom is, if they be yours, then why don't they have access to the tree of life? If they be yours, why don't they have access to the spirit of life?
Oh.
If they be yours. If they be yours, then why are they wrapped in death and darkness? And so God, in presenting his case, which was to prove that he never lied, not to make something true that wasn't true, but to prove that he never lied when he gave his view and opinion of man in Genesis 1. Which God gave his view and opinion of man in Genesis 1 when it says he got down on one knee and blessed Adam.
Right.
That word blessed means to shine in adoration, to get down on one knee in adoration. And to honor someone as your co-equal, to honor someone as being of you, from you, and through you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.